And we're live. Hello and
Yay.
welcome to Game Theory Gang, episode 145. I'm Matty Allen with ChrispyMan of Hexfire.io and Fast Abdoul. Welcome.
Hey guys,
Welcome.
what's going on?
What is happening? I'm going to send you this link right away, Matty, because I think we should talk about this Tangem wallet. And for those who don't know, there have been reports, I can't verify them, but the company appears to have responded. There's some reports of people who have been using the Tangem hardware wallet. If you had done certain things, like ask for customer service help right after generating keys, it emailed the keys out to the company. It means they're on the servers, and also the company has them in their files.
Like the private keys for the wallet? You emailed
the private keys. Yeah.
That
Crazy,
sounds like
huh?
terrible fun.
Yeah. So this is the Twitter post, the X that had come out on this. But apparently, yeah. So this doesn't get into the real specific details, but the company does answer down below what the problem was, and they isolated it very specifically to when requesting help through the ticket system. It could happen. So if you're a Tangem user, go do some research, figure this out, and make sure you're safe.
Or just switch to Rabby or Internet Money and don't use those keys again. If you sent your keys to someone that's not your wallet anymore, not your keys, not your crypto.
Yeah, quite crazy.
Indeed.
And they're saying here that the incident arose from a bug in the mobile app's log processing, which could have affected a limited number of users, specifically those who generated a seed phrase and immediately submitted a support request through the app. Doesn't affect any other users. But boy, this would, I get it. I mean, look how we feel about Ledger, because of their hack. And, then of course the backdoor possibilities, and then something like this, it really hurts your credibility as a hardware provider.
Oh, totally. Maybe they could clean up their act. I don't know, but it's especially at this point in the bull market to have something like this. I think sticking with Trezor sounds like a win. See link in description of this stream for a how to get a Trezor. I think
that's right.
That's right. Everybody deserves some treasure.
Yep. No. It just works. And it's not compromised, and you have awesome options for additional security. There's all sorts of ways you can, split up your seed phrase. There's ways you can have secret like seed phrase keywords and stuff like that to make it infinitely harder to hack. There's, it's lots of cool extras there.
100%, man. I see. I'm going to switch subjects. I'm sorry. I don't know if we're done with that subject, but I was going to talk about this fantastic thing called Hex that we got out here, but because that's the only thing I know about.
Well,
my subject expertise. Right?
Tell us more.
I'll give you something spicy. Like which one was a bigger oof? Like Tangem compromising a few seed phrases, or like the Hex founder talking shit on people who run paid groups? Because I don't run a paid group, but I at least show respect for the people who put in the work in this ecosystem. And as far as I can tell, it's the people who run paid groups that are bringing in all the money to Pulse Chain and Hex. So that kind of pisses me off that I guess that the founder isn't aware of how important paid groups are in his own coins.
I guess the question is, who was he directing that comment to, right? Was he talking about Hex influencers that run paid groups, or was he talking about crypto in general? Because, in general, I think there's definitely some situations where that would be true, but in the Hex community, we have certain groups where they're bringing in many millions more into the community than they're taking out. That's it would be very sad if we stopped having these professionals who were, running paid groups that help people join our community. That would not be a win. The math is terrible. But there's lots of scammy groups out there, and that's probably also true, right?
Yeah, but you don't burn down the temple and like go after like the priests of the temple, like just because there are bad priests elsewhere. Like it's just, it's a really bad take. And it's cool if you want to be the founder that like tells people you have to go do the work yourself. But then when you ostracize and talk shit about the people who are actually doing the work, that is the worst. That's worse than just being hands off decentralized. Now you're like diminishing the people who are doing the work. So you can't have a successful product that way. You can't, like, I would love to see an apology tweet, really, like, and again, I say this as somebody who doesn't run a paid group. I don't like pay to be in groups. I just respect the fact that people who run paid groups are an extreme net positive for Hex and Pulse Chain. So much so that I listed them in, like my physical onboarding tool brochure. Like I just for free, I promote people who run all these paid groups because they bring in way more than they take, and they provide a service that otherwise would be helping people get into other stuff. I mean, I'm not aware of anybody who onboards more than the people who run paid groups in Hex and Pulse Chain, and it's not even close.
Yeah. And there's like, it's hard to say, like, I'm not recommending any particular paid group, but like, like some of these paid groups, and I'll mention like 3 or 4 that I pay for. Like it's a safe place where there's no scammers, right? Like there's like, because of the paywall, the scammers that are trying to get your seed phrase don't get in there. So if you need help, like how do I set up my wallet? Like if you say that in a main chat on Telegram, like how can I set up my wallet? Can someone help me? Like someone will contact you to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I probably have a unique viewpoint on this, right? So on the surface, though, I understood exactly what Richard was getting after when he tweeted that out, right? Because every dollar I spend to travel to Vegas, or every dollar somebody spends on my group or any other group, or all this stuff, right? Those are funds where they potentially could have done much better by going into something that they like, right? And so that was always the focus with Hex too, right? Is to try to focus in on buying Hex, etc. So without reading too deeply into it, I think that was the generic kind of a comment and thought, right? Is focus our economic energy at certain things. But I'm still drinking coffee too. So I mean, it's each person has to decide what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, so I haven't given up coffee to buy crypto. That's
I'm still buying purple suits.
So there you go. But that's
and that's the other thing that he said was like, don't go to conferences. Like, I take personal offense to that, because I do go to conferences like for the greater good, to like network with people. Like I have one amazing speaker that we've never had in the history of a Pulse Chain, or in the history of a Hex conference. Like I have somebody who's going to be speaking because I met them so many times in real life at conferences at my own expense. So like I take a huge personal offense to this tweet. Like it's just, it's a bad take.
I
can see your opinion on that. Sure.
Yeah.
But the other
agree with Richard on everything. That's not, that is not one of the requirements.
Correct. Good point.
But he's living a different life than us too, right? Like clearly he's, he sees the things that we're doing, but like I'm guessing he doesn't catch every single stream. He's fighting different fights for the community, and I can see how he would want to focus on that and not what we're necessarily doing on a day to day. But yeah, you turn off the lights and bad things would start happening. I do think that is true. So let's keep supporting our good communities. Everybody has to decide which ones those are, but I like yours, Crispy. It's just you pay for access to tools, right? Like that's my understanding. The main, the main offer that your paid community has is I get access to special tools, I get access to special data, and I can use that data to make my own decisions. Other communities that I really like Axis's communities, Crypto Sloth, Raddy Hilarski's community, like it's access to the community itself that's actually is actually like a big bonus. You get to interact with these people that aren't scammers and that are all there for the same reason. So it keeps your head on straight, right? When you're in like a private group with people who have similar goals and aren't trying to steal your money, then that helps keep you sane on the bad days. And for I'm not going to pay $1,000 a month to join one of these private groups, but for like $100 a month and that sort of thing, which is the range of the majority of them is somewhere around there. I think it's a good bargain. I'm looking to get into more, honestly. If anybody knows good private groups, drop them in the chat. Best Abdoul is hunting. I want to join your cabal.
He's a hunting. No, I think that's valid. I took a lot of heat. I spoke earlier about it here, and we even talked about it well in advance before I even put any type of paid group together. And I got advice from people, that I respect throughout the chain. But I did take some heat, and I understand why they felt that way, because they still feel that you should be taking advantage of people by charging them for information that would be otherwise free, right? That's kind of the viewpoint, and that mostly I'd gotten back.
Free if you were capable of putting the information together yourself, right? Which I talk to a lot of people in a week, and most of them are not capable of putting that information together by themselves.
Yeah, well,
so it is what it is.
Yeah, why shouldn't people get paid for like doing work? Like it's nuts to me. Like if running a paid group, I imagine, is like a really big task. And so this expectation that everybody needs to work for free and but Richard doesn't work for you and all this, it's all backwards. Like it's all convoluted. It doesn't add up. It's like logically inconsistent. And it's not how the real world works. In the real world, you get paid for doing things of value. Like if people don't find value in what you're doing, then they stop paying for it. But what do we see with the prominent paid groups that I'm aware of on Hex and Pulse Chain? They get more people participating every quarter or every period because they're providing so much value that's provable. So again, I'm not a member of these groups, but economically speaking, they wouldn't be viable. And especially in our ecosystem, they're not a meat grinder that's just using people once and then nobody wants to deal with them again. So
yeah, good point. But there are predatory paid groups. I honestly, I haven't seen one that I could name in the Pulse Chain community, but there's for sure predatory, Andrew Tate type groups where they're pumping and dumping on their own community and stuff like that, right? It for sure exists. So if we assume that Richard was talking to the broader crypto community, what he's saying is probably true for many people. I still think the conference one seems a little diluted. Even with that in mind, because conferences, you go to the Bitcoin conference, that's a huge crypto networking event that spreads the word of crypto to the general masses. It's Trump showed up to speak at the Bitcoin conference.
Right.
I'm not sure I can say that's bad, regardless of whether they're charging $500 to get in or not. Right.
Right.
It sounds good to me.
And there's people, there's the PLS 369 conference that's happening in Vegas. That's a lot of work to put on an in-person conference. that's put on by a whole team of people, not including myself. So yeah, so again, like, it's bad enough if like the founder won't like speak at these things, but like, if he's gonna FUD conferences, like that's not okay with me. Like, I'm not down with that. Like, he's entitled to his
Well, it's
opinion,
only
but like, it's a
it's
bad
his
take.
opinion. It's
It's
his
a bad
opinion.
take.
Yeah, that's your opinion, right? That's the problem with this stuff, right? It's all opinion.
Well,
But we're going to
look,
spend on that conference, for instance. And here's the thing, right? How much would
yeah,
$2 million, $3 million worth of buy do for any token, right? It would potentially change things around a little bit, make things a little bit better on the chain. And we're probably, as a group, right, we'll probably spend that much, right? $2 or $3 million going there, right? I know it's
I
going
would
to
be
cost.
surprised if like the Pulse Chain 369 conference, is that what it's called? If
yes,
they, I've in my past life, I put on a lot of large events that like thousands of people came to, and like it's not millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure on that one, I think RG3 is paying for it out of his pocket, and then probably he's going to lose money, but he probably won't lose that much if enough people show up. But it's not millions; like it might be hundreds of thousands.
Well, I'm
so
thinking.
so I hold
I
the
think the fee is about $400
I
to go, right?
so
But
so I hold the world record for like the most hexicans attending a single event, and I've always said that like if somebody beats my record, then maybe I'll think of putting on another event. But the meetups that Richard did, like he wasn't going for the biggest, so those were like pop up like next day things in Europe. Never had more. The highest of stakes didn't have more. So currently the record is 555 paid people showing up to a conference. It was March 6th through 9th, 2022. And that costs about $250,000 to put on. And that was me making zero money, basically losing a couple $1,000, like even doing it, having a whale bail me out to like even make up the difference. And I only charged $369. So you can pretty much, since inflation and everything, you can double just the cost of the conference. And then if you think about it's going to cost people another $500 to fly in and another $500 to have a hotel. And even if they only spend $500 on like food, entertainment, after parties, like gambling, all that good kind of stuff, like I think Crispy's original figure of $2 million is like probably like pretty spot on.
yeah,
So
Probably
like
$2 to $3 million.
$2,000 a head times 500. It's still only
it's
$1
just
million
back.
bucks.
It's just
Okay.
a back of envelope. I don't think we got to get hung up on exactly what the dollars are, but I mean, it's just real, right? I mean, it is real funds.
Yeah.
Now, what we don't know, just like any marketing, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, right? Is there more adoption because of it? Is there more of a net inflow? Don't know. Don't know. I just
So,
understand what his point was, right? And I
so
don't think it was. I don't think it. I don't like. I didn't take it personally that he was like aiming at me, even though some people probably took it that way, right? And think that it was very specifically about anybody who does it. Right.
right. Yeah. I don't think it was specifically about me or about the PLS 369 conference or anything like that. But let's take another example, like where where there was the sponsorship for the Hex race car, right? Because that was another situation where Richard had like fudded the community doing something, that like everybody agreed on and everybody put up their own money towards it. I think it cost about $500,000 to do the sponsorship of the Hex race car, which like lost in the final qualifying round, like did not make it into the Daytona 500. Although me having been there, I can tell you that that the amount of money that was onboarded into Hex was over $500,000 from that event. And so that begs the question, like, how are we measuring the success of advertising or conferences or like people spending money not on buying the ticker? I think like green candles are the best form of marketing. So maybe that is more like against what I'm saying.
Things like this 369 conference, though, like it's not necessarily about marketing if like it's the community that's coming, but it's like it is about community maintenance, right? And
Right.
maintaining the people who are in the community, and it's people who are
Yes.
friends. Like I'm gonna meet some of you guys for the first time at some of these conferences, right?
Yeah.
So it's like cool. Like that's for me, that's good. That's one of the things that will keep me building in the community. Is like, oh, I met these people, they're real, right? Like, yeah, I'm gonna keep building stuff for this, right? I'm not gonna
Yeah.
screw off to Solana, right? Like, I think that maintenance is worth maintaining your best people is worth at least as much as recruiting new people.
Right. Yeah, because it's all about the price is determined by supply and demand, and so like if people are selling more than people are buying, it doesn't matter if you put your economic. It doesn't matter if you put $3 million towards buying Hex if you have $10 million of people selling, like in this in the same move, if that's the trade-off. So your comment about community maintenance, I think is really prescient.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, there's no answer to this, right? They're going to be different. They're going to be different people, feel in different ways about, have different opinions. There's no answer.
The
Right,
answer.
because-
I'm sorry. Yes, there is an answer. The founder can stop fudding what the community is doing, or he can do it himself. Like that. That is the answer.
Well,
It's like
interestingly enough, I feel the same way about that. But what I'm saying to you is that there's no answer as to what would be best, right? Because all of it is like a matter of opinion and unmeasurable, unless we went to some sort of extreme to measure, which we can't, right? Like it's immeasurable to say whether it's a net positive or not.
But
But you have your feelings.
but what about the race car example? Like, is that a net positive, or do we need more than $500,000 of buying pressure if there's $500,000?
If that's what happened, sure, I could argue with that. I could see your point with that event, but again, like I said, you can go on and on with this one, right, and just argue the point back and forth that, well, yeah, but you could have picked something else to put the 500,000, and it would have done more. Et
Yeah.
cetera.
Okay.
I mean, we could just
Yeah,
go on. You can go on and on about it. But here's the thing about the car racing, right? So the car racing. Well, listen, if I'm not a car racing enthusiast. I mean, I've gone to tons of races, but I'm not the Sunday guy who's going to sit there and watch the race, right? And but if I really like racing and I wanted to put my money in that to promote Hex, great. Just like the softball guy, just like the F1 folks, just like you go on and on, right? If that's what you want to do, then it's up to you. It doesn't necessarily mean it would be the best, but here's the thing: is it does create this really cool kind of situation for Hex, where we have all these different things that people have done, and and it builds a richness into our community, and so Richard can have his opinion. Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, don't know, but I know that you can feel that he's wrong. That's fine, but I think in general, and like somebody said, maybe like we're saying in the chat, it's not really directed at us. It's more of a generic. That's why, statement to crypto. I mean, that's why when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, okay, I understand what he's talking about. Because if we were all single-minded right now and we all went and bought Hex, I know what would happen with the price of Hex. It would go up, right? And and that's not realistic either, right? I mean, look at all the promotion that I did for the Quattro Cinco stuff. Yes, it was big, but it didn't really. It was a ripple in the water, right? A few hundred people, And
but that's a few hundred people that are now locked in for 15 years. We have Sami for 15 years now because of your initiative.
I like that.
Like,
that's
awesome.
Shout out to Sami. Yeah, but I mean, you understand. I mean, this is a long race, man. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It's a long.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful to the people who take their own money and do marketing stuff for Hex. There's the Hex postcard guys. There's the race car guys. There's all these people. I mean, they could have just taken their money and spent it on vices, or you know, like it could have left it in crypto and watched it go to zero. But you know,
Well,
people
I think that's the other part of what you said. That's a big message for me too, right? I had kind of like a tiny conversation with Richard a few years ago about this. Um, we were not quite articulated, right? But we were on the conference, right? And I had that 2 minutes that I could speak to him, right? And all giddy. I could hardly catch my breath, right? But anyways, so I was talking with Richard, but the backdrop to that conversation was, about people doing things, for the community, right? And what they're doing. And like and I'll mention his name because I want him to hear it if he's listening, to Gosh, who's now with the postcards. He did a ton of work,
hell yeah.
for Hex Daily Stats early on. I know he's not doing that now, but I mean he did do a ton of work. But this is kind of unfortunate. Part of all this stuff is, yeah, every time I get more hate on some of the stuff that I do, which I think is like completely innocuous, right? But I mean, somebody apparently doesn't think so. Every time I get hate for it, the first thing that pops in my head was, well, screw it, F it, man, and just turn
Right.
off everything, right?
Right.
But then I think about it a little bit more, because that, just because one person says something and has an opinion doesn't mean everybody thinks that way. But I think it is true that sometimes this negative stuff that comes out, whether it's intentional or not to be demoralizing, it's demoralizing, and you have people drop off the map, right? Whether they don't participate anymore, or it prevents somebody from participating, and sharing their information, you know.
I have spicy topic number 2, somewhat related. So MEXC, the centralized exchange that reportedly is delisting Pulse after
Oh
the
yeah.
community,
Yep.
mostly various founders, threw in money to get onto their
Mhm.
exchange. What do you guys think about that?
Well, doesn't that fall right into this topic? Hey,
That
man,
does.
maybe
Right.
that's perfect. Maybe that's perfectly fine, because the money that was paid brought more money in during that period of time.
There
Don't
we
know.
go.
I don't have a measurement on it, but that would be like a counter argument, right? They're making a business decision. I assume they're making a
Yeah.
business decision, and so maybe it was well worth it, and we should do it again. I,
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not suggesting that, by the way, but I mean,
That's
right?
a
I mean,
spicy take.
that would be like the reverse take on that. Yeah, but I saw that fast. I was like, "F those guys, man."
Totally.
But
But that was like the Pulse Game Foundation, drummed up those funds, Crypto Coffee, like did the tours, talked to all the founders, right, and got money to do it. And then these centralized bastards, because of a little FUD, they use it as an excuse to rug the whole thing. But that being said, like just because it didn't work doesn't mean it was bad, right? Like centralized exchanges, I don't think that's the way, but it is a way to onboard more people, and there's utility to it, right? So I think the
Right.
intention was good, and if it had worked better, that would have been better. But yeah, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't have been done. And nobody has a crystal ball. You can't tell what these entities are going to do.
it is interesting though, because it does illustrate just the kind of power that those sexes do have, you know, over what you do, and how they can. I mean, it's kind of a shitty deal to have put up the funds for that and then have them pull it, right? Sorry, no refund. It feels very, talk about being negative, right?
Yeah, and I think you know, that was probably one of like the tools that was needed in order to make other stuff work, like Change Now. Um, and so I think that the effects are like greater than just that one thing. And I think that it was probably net benefit. And again, I'm grateful to all the people who donated. I know Buck like donated a significant amount of money towards that. And anybody else who did, like, that's really cool. But it's not cool that MEXC like dropped it. I mean, and I hope they get on blast from Sami until Pulse Chain is number one.
Agreed. Hey, Maddie, does the MEXC ever show up in any of these crypto conferences you go to?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like a total grift. Like I met a dude who like just, you know, like basically sells getting listed for like, you know, putting $5,000 or $10,000 into his pocket. Like,
cool. Wow. Maybe I'll bump into him at one of these conferences and I can talk to him about this.
ooh, yeah.
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 That'd be good.
Yeah, but well, maybe he's
there's
not
a
gonna
lot.
want to show his face for a while. We'll see.
There's a lot of Hexicans out there. Just saying, if you're watching MEXC, we're here.
We kind of figured that would happen eventually with those guys, right? Maybe. I don't know.
It was on the table.
Briz was right. Briz did warn us. I just want to say the Brizology did warn us, and we did not heed his warning, and look what happened.
Brizology is always right.
Always.
I'll readily admit that.
Exactly, Spencer. Spencer's talking about the Richard tweet. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I wasn't surprised, because it is very consistent with what Richard's always said about us expending funds, you know, but that's his opinion, right? So you get to decide what you want to do with it. But I understand.
And my point is, he can update his worldview like he's done in the past if he actually appreciates who's bringing money to his products. Like, it's a contradiction for him to say, you do the work and buy the ticker, when the people who are doing the most work to get people to buy the tickers are the people that he's putting down. So it's I get it that like he said that before, but like that was in the years before he created a product and then asked other people, you know, to be basically, or like, you know, we put ourselves in charge of it basically. But that, I mean, yeah, it's just a slap into the face of the people. Like, if you pissed off one of the top 5 paid group people and they stopped promoting the chain, you just lost many millions of dollars of buy pressure, more than is being paid. Like, it's just, yeah.
Well,
he's obviously not aware if he's like fudding paid group people. He's obviously not aware of where all the buy pressure is coming from on his own products.
Yeah. You should take one of his anonymous accounts and join some of these groups, see what we're doing. Check it out.
I definitely think there's an effect. I don't know if you can conclude that all, and I think somebody said that in chat earlier, I don't think we can conclude that all of the buy pressure comes in through groups like that.
No.
But I can tell you from having met, at least virtually, a number of whales and sharks and whatnot, the people that are coming in, they're looking for answers to certain questions and ability to do things that, dude, if I go into one of the chats, this is what Fast Abdoul was saying, what am I going to do? Ask on X. Hey, I don't have $1 million, but hey, I'm bringing $1 million in. Well, I guess people ask this stupid question all the time. Where do I put it? But I mean, you know, what's the likelihood I'm really going to get advice that I know I could even trust? And then second, yes, I know I need to do my own research. It's crypto, but you know, like Fast is saying, there are times where having a group of people that perhaps aren't, you know, perhaps you're doing trust but verify still, of course, right? But it's a more secluded group of people. Like if I go to the Hedron chat and I say hello, man, I got all sorts of people sending me links. Click here, you want to upgrade, you know, send your keys. I get all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know,
try asking somebody how to bridge like 10 ETH onto Pulse Chain, like in one of those main chats. Like,
yeah, it happens on Pulse Chain chat too. I'm not picking on Hedron. You know, it happens on Pulse Chain chat. It happens on all these chats. So there is something to getting, you know, advice, you know, that other than in the comments of a YouTube channel, right? I mean, but I don't think all the money's coming that way. I would say that.
Sure.
I remember when Richard told Abid and Patrick to charge more for their workshops, because people value what they have to pay for. and all of this, like I forget like
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
like
remember,
paid speaker Richard used to go to, but there
that
was some
sounds
like
familiar.
motivational speaker that he used to go to.
That sounds
Um,
familiar about A-Bit and Patrick. I forgot about that. That's so
Yep.
long ago now. I don't
yeah,
remember that.
because they were doing it for free, and
Well,
RH didn't like that, right? Like it's come on, man, like
yeah, and I think that's true. Like, I bet you if I started a free group, well, you can join this free group, and I'll help you with your crypto stuff. Uh, I'm sure 300 or 400 people would join, but it wouldn't be they wouldn't show up, right? But if like I put up something like I'm never going to do this, by the way, but like if I was like, okay, regular price 500 on for $50 for the first 6 months, I bet you I could get 1,000 people in there because they're like, oh, it's a deal and I'm paying for it, so I'm going to get some information, right? Like, people actually do value what they pay for. There's something to it. As long as it's not a bad deal, I don't see the downside. And
Mhm.
yeah, the 4 groups I'm in, I think they're good deals. And even just so I can interact with those people, right? People that I like.
Well, yeah, yeah. You're listen, like I said, I don't think there's any answer to this, man. We might as well be talking about religion or any number of other political discussions, right? Because I don't think there's like an answer everybody's going to agree with. It's one of the, it's one of the things about groups like this, communities like this, that it's hard to get your head around, because you could bring this right over to Hex, right, and talk about Hex. And we have this setup within our community where we have some people like, there is nothing else in Hex, right? There is nothing else. You do nothing but Hex, right? And then you have people that are like, man, if I can transact it, I'm going to do transact, right? And I'm going to go do something with it. So you have this wide range of things, and it's really kind of perplexing because, again, the main message from the founder was always to concentrate on the asset, right? Because that would make the asset go the furthest, right, and be the best. And that is still true today. It's still true today, but it's more complicated, isn't it? It's more complicated now, as we've talked about here, right?
right.
Because in support of that, some of us sacrificed, and you automatically were in some other stuff, and then some of us have also participated in the same founders' farms and participated in providing LP. I mean, so the messages sometimes appear very mixed, right? Like the comment the other day about the drop in price. I think Richard did tweet about how the LP providers did great. Well, the LP providing was never part of that original focus on Hex, right? Yet we all know that somebody's got to provide LP, right? Otherwise, this stuff doesn't work, right? At all, right? Somebody's got to make the market. Anyways, my point is there's different flavors of this kind of conversation. Um, but no doubt, I think for somebody who is brand new and who is not crypto experienced, that clearly the best way to keep them out of trouble is to get them into Hex. That's my opinion, right? Not fact, not financial advice, but get them into Hex, and then lock up their Hex in terms of stake, so that they're not, which is the whole reason he always stated, right, was about having the staking, right, distribute the rewards, the inflation in terms of Hex, and because people are locked in, they're likely to hold longer. And what's better than hodling longer, right, and getting rewards. But all of that, if we go back to the original origin, all that, we start saying that, and some people are still doing it in our community, right? There's only Hex, there's only Hex, there's only Hex. Invariably, you're going to have. I mean, it doesn't fit validating. That doesn't fit validating, right? It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit farming. It doesn't fit LPing. It doesn't fit having all these other tokens. Anyways, my point is there's a lot of moving pieces of this. Now, what I choose to take back from all that is that Richard's original intent was, and he always has said this, as he walked us through it in the early days, right, and built it together, is that he wanted to see people succeed. He wanted to create a million millionaires, right? And he came up with, in his head, the formula to get there. And so those people who potentially follow that, maybe they're going to make it, They follow that very strict approach. But it'd be silly for us to say that you don't need any tokens on Pulse Chain, and nobody should do anything, right? So it ties back to your point about there's very contradictory statements, right?
Right.
I'll stop digressing, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with somebody in the chat that, like, I've not paid for a paid group, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate the work that people are doing and the value that they're creating.
Fair enough. So this super secret guest you have for the Hex Conference, can you tell us more?
Man, I really want to, but not on a day when the price is down, because nobody pays attention to that shit.
Is the price down today? I think the price was up today. Price is up 0.37%, Maddie.
Not enough.
I like.
You're gonna have to do better than that if you want to hear about this speaker.
I thought you said President-elect Trump was going to be speaking. Isn't that what you said a little bit earlier?
No, I didn't. But
that'd be a good rumor, though.
But there's another person I'm very close to landing who's almost as popular as Trump.
Joe Rogan?
Maybe like only one standard deviation less versus like,
wow.
All of us in crypto are like 2 or 3 standard deviations away. So yeah, I'm super pumped about like the big speakers from outside the ecosystem. I'm bullish on that this year for the first time, which is a big change. But for the Hex Conference, which is coming up like starting Monday next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, online, we're going to need more of the people who are in Hex and Pulse Chain to like check their messages and respond and sign up and everything like that, because I'm landing these awesome speakers from outside our ecosystem, but maybe I haven't put in enough effort to like make sure everybody within our ecosystem is signed up, because I can't make the schedule until people sign up.
So what is the call to action?
I've been late this year.
Influencers sign up?
Like, yes, like I'm late this year. So like really like it by tomorrow really is like, it's really hard to plan a whole conference with like 50 or 100 speakers if like, if there's not enough time left, and that's my fault. But but what I'm saying is I'm panicking, and we're in trouble of like not having the best conference we've ever had before if we don't get the word out for everybody to sign up, and then I can make the schedule. So
fair enough. Probably best then if more people signed up. Otherwise, we could just rebrand it as the Fast Abdoul and ChrispyMan Conference.
Right.
I don't think that we get as many takers there.
We talk about Hex, baby. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you can see the new webpage is updated at hexconference.com. I guess we can go over that. Oh, that's still taking me. So hopefully it should take you to something that says Hex Conference 2025. My browser is not updated, so it works for probably everybody except for me. If I use a different browser, it works. But okay, I'm gonna share my screen here. Got some new graphics for this year. The theme is live for 5 years, January 6th through 9th, starting at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, going for 6 hours each night. And you can see like it'll take you to YouTube with like the playlist of all 4 days of the conference. If you click on that first link there, it'll come up with all 4 days, landing pages that are already there with all their beautiful thumbnails. Wow, what a great job. And this year, the new thing, and this is a pretty big deal. So in the past, we had the Hex Conference only on my channel and Richard's. But now everybody who speaks at the conference will be invited and asked to stream to their channels as well. So we now have this technology to spread across 50 or 100 different channels instead of just on one. And I really think that decentralizing that onto more than one channel is going, on people's YouTube and on their X or both is where people can stream, and this will be live. And so this, this is going to be like the most distributed Hex conference ever.
Very nice.
Because I think a lot of people will see it who don't normally see it even. And normally we have, 50,000 to 150,000 people who tune in for this. I mean, this is like the biggest online event of the year, is the hexconference.com and pulsechainconference.com. So yeah, super excited to see how this new format will work with everybody streaming to their own channels and to a single channel as well.
Yeah, in the time you were showing that, I was able to fill out my survey and send it in.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, anybody who's spoken before should have an invite in your Twitter or your Telegram. Those are the only two places that I've reached out. And of course, you would never click on a link if it didn't come directly from MATI all in on Twitter and Telegram. But that'll take you to the SurveyMonkey link that does not collect your IP address, and that allows you to fill out this like quick survey to find out your availability and give you the rundown of what's expected of you as a speaker. I will give you the hint, even though the price isn't up today enough to to tell you like who the big speaker is. I will tell you that the biggest speaker I have so far is currently signed up on day 3. And then I have another one planned hopefully for day 1. And so this year, another thing that's going to be different about the Hex conference than previous years is we would kind of build our way up to the keynote speaker being in like the 4th or the 5th hour. But this year, it's going to be the keynote speaker right off the bat. The first speaker is going to be like the most notable speaker. And I think that just makes like so much more sense. I mean, I've been doing it the other way for like 4 years, but like now it's just like, oh, duh. Why don't we put the most popular person first so that people keep watching after that, basically. And people who tune in, they'll be captured instead of having to like fight your way 4 or 5 hours into the middle of the video in order to see like, the person. Maybe like, maybe there's going to be people watching this from like, maybe there's going to be more people watching this Hex conference from outside of Hex than inside of Hex this year. Like that would be my dream, right? So, so that's why I've done these tweaks, and maybe, just maybe, we'll pull it off.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out who these big names are.
Yeah, dude, can't wait. And so there's like a date and time calculator here for like all the different places in the world that people might be tuning in from. Like the starting time of the conference in the UK, unfortunately, is like midnight. But we still have a lot of European streamers that will still participate. In Japan, it starts at 9 a.m. and Sydney, Australia, 11 a.m. And we've kept the dates of the Hex conference the same ever since the first conference. And so last year it fell perfectly on the weekend. This year we had like a leap day and all this other stuff. And so we're kind of falling on probably the most like work days possible of like Monday through Thursday. But, you know, it's always been geared towards like American prime time when people are technically should be off work in some cases. So hopefully we'll continue to have like the most participation possible because of like the timing of the conference, even though I wish I could make it better for the European community. So Richard spoke in 2023, 2025, where we will soon announce like the keynotes. Of course, I always leave room for Richard to speak on day 4, and hope he does.
I wouldn't be shocked. You know, like I'd be a little surprised, but not that surprised if he either showed up or sent a pre-recorded message.
Right, like pre-recorded, it would definitely be fire. And then we'll have like the sponsors and donors listed here. Typically, there's one per day, and we've got the landing pages separated out here. So yeah, this is all happening, and it's all coming together here at the last minute. Yeah, apologies for not getting the invites out sooner, but hopefully everybody will still be able to get excited here in the 11th hour of like the Hex Conference planning, especially because we might hear from the SEC judge before this conference starts, right? Like she is probably going back to work like on Thursday. So we have Thursday and Friday to hear. And then we also have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to hear from her. And it's already been 60 days starting today since the hearing, which was on October 31st, Halloween, and now it's December 31st. And so, you know, like Nuclear Herbs and Richard both said, typically 60 days is the time frame you'd look for a federal judge to like issue a ruling on this whole jurisdiction issue over whether the SEC has jurisdiction over Hex, ? Over Pulse Chain and PulseX, ? All ? Or none ?
Yeah,
so those
I
are the
think Hex
potential
has
outcomes.
the strongest chance of being kicked out, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
So that would be pretty awesome if that happened during the conference.
During the Hex Conference, right?
Yeah, historically, isn't there like a Hex Conference price pump? I think some of my trading bros have talked about that before.
Yeah, and the strongest one was last year, actually happening like starting the last day of the conference, because that's when Richard's lawyers issued their letter showing their cards and explaining why they think they could beat the SEC. Up until that point, we didn't know if Richard had lawyers and like what he was doing about the SEC stuff, or like if, you know, basically we knew the SEC was wrong, but that was just our own conjecture. And so it was on the 4th day of the conference that was like, you know, this huge, massive, you know, event that basically caused the prices to go from like basically a period of like 2 months of like the lowest prices we had seen in like Pulse Chain, PulseX, and PHEX and that kind of stuff, to where starting from the last day of the Hex Conference, January 9th, up until mid-March, you had like, that was like the biggest run the chain has ever done, where maybe you had a 20x in Ink and a 10x or so in like PulseX and Pulse and stuff. So
huge.
Yeah, that was big news. And then like typically in-person events like are, in my opinion, like just Bitcoin, Hex, anything like Pulse Chain, stuff like that is typically kind of like drops the price more likely than it pumps it. But certainly like the online Hex Conference has like, I think, a pretty good track record of being price positive more than not.
Yeah, no, if we can combine that with an SEC ruling that's favorable for at least Hex, even if the can is kicked down the road somehow, but it's not negative, which I think is likely, that it won't be negative, and that it could be positive. like that would be huge. It could be this could be a great week for Hex.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I would hope so. And we're also, I mean, like the community is used to getting like bad news too, like during like online streaming events. Like there was a 24-hour live stream for the big payday, and like the price crashed 70 or 80%, and everybody was still like, sticking with it. So I'm optimistic about the court case for Hex. And I think Richard said that too in his Christmas stream. But I think currently the sentiment is like pretty bad. So that maybe that all comes together for us in a good way.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's asking about like the AI and multi-language. I tried that last year. The problem was that we didn't have like the distribution networks per se. And so it was certainly the case where people could like basically take that and use it how they wished. But in the end, that was like, something where it was kind of an impressive thing kind of to show the power of this, but the technology, I don't think was there yet in terms of like how to distribute it without impacting like cause like you can't put stuff out on this channel in another language, cause that would like screw up the algorithm and just like,
when Japanese channel and Spanish channel, all those things. It was pretty freaking cool though. Like I remember watching that and watching people I know who I'm pretty sure don't speak fluent Korean, like just rambling it off, and like the inflection and everything sounded so perfect. Yes. It was pretty awesome.
And and like even like the lip movements would be like, AI dubbed. Even I think they were even because I've done this in like a neuroscience lab. I think they were like averaging the person's face with like 15% of like a person from another country. Like, yeah, it was surreal. So that was like, Hex is often, and Hexicans are often the first people to do something. And not everything ends up working, but you can bet that like we're going to keep trying different things. And this multi-streaming thing, like I've had that idea for a few months, but I really hope once people try it at the conference, people who aren't doing that yet, I hope that they will go forward and like start doing that throughout the entire community. And that's another point of the Hex Conference is not just to attract new people, which it certainly can do, but it's to it's like reactivate old streamers who haven't streamed in a while, and to bring everybody together and to give people a sample of like 50 or 100 different channels that you might want to follow going forward. And so it's a really good like sampler platter of all the different YouTubers.
Yeah, good concept. I like it. It would be good to reactivate some of these people too. Like there's some Hex streamers I haven't seen for a while. Like now is a great time to jump back in. Let's go.
Yeah. And I will do my best, and anybody else who can like message people you miss and ask them if they can speak at the conference, like that would be really cool.
I'm hoping to see Jim Rat Crypto again. I miss his morning song.
I messaged probably about 100 people, and probably have already heard back from a quarter of them. But as you guys said, like even lots of supporters of the conference and people who are planning to speak haven't responded yet. So like, I think I'm just panicking for no reason, but at the same time, I do need to like, keep banging the drum that, that this can't happen without individuals, stepping up and as you all have in the past. So there's no reason for alarm, but we really, are really hoping to have a lot more people sign up to speak.
Oh yeah. I think tomorrow, like, and the next day you're going to have your whole bill will be filled. There'll be people begging to come on. It's just because of the holiday timing. So
Yep.
it'll be frantic, but you're gonna pull it off.
Thanks. Yeah, I believe it. And yeah, especially like finally, you guys don't know. I've tried to get big speakers outside of our ecosystem. Even the very first year we ever had a Hex conference, I fell down a rabbit hole that somebody taught me like how to like get in touch with Vitalik.
Nice.
He did not want to speak. I got in touch with like Andreas Antonopoulos's like people. They were like so like vitriolic. They were terrible. They were really mean towards me. So this year feels different. I got high hopes. So
Nice.
High hopes. He's got high hopes.
So another thing that people can do to get the message out and to help is to follow Hex Conference on Twitter. That's like the #1 place where you can find Hex Conference only type stuff. So x.com/Hex Conference. I think we have a couple thousand subscribers, but that's also the program that ties together the Hex Badges program, which doubles the number of organic impressions that all the different people who participate get on all of their posts all year round.
Sure.
So that's certainly been like a really successful program from the perspective of like, you know, getting millions of literally actually I think it's actually hundreds of millions of more impressions.
So
It might be.
if somebody participates in the conference, they get a Twitter badge. Is that the deal?
No, it just like kind of like it's one of the things you have to do to qualify, but the other aspects are like, you know, because it costs the program $600 a year for each badge. So it kind of has to be the people with the most seniority who are like putting in the most effort, who but like the requirement of having to have spoken at the conference is important because of the Twitter rules that say you don't get this like, you know, this like maximum hack that like has never existed in any social media. It's like give you this good of a deal. Like you can't get that unless you have a legitimate organization. And
Right.
I can't say that somebody is part of the hexconference.com organization if they haven't ever spoken at the conference.
It's a tough call though, because you can only either have the Pulse Chain badge or the Hex badge, right?
Correct. And you can't switch back and forth either.
I know. I've been thinking about that. I was like, man, I'd like to have a badge, but which badge do I want to have? What do you think, Crispy? Which badge is better?
I think we all know his.
I was over on mute, I thought, but I guess I wasn't. I could have just.
You're making fish sounds. I can hear you.
Yeah, Hex badge, of course. Come on.
I see.
The garbage Pulse Chain badge. Sorry.
I'll do some math. We'll see. We'll see which
How
one.
about, how about a new badge that covers everything? How about that?
Right. Well, what would that even be?
Pulse Chain. I don't know, dude.
This is from back in October, showing that like out of the 36 different affiliates, which are people who have badges, they got 154 million impressions on Twitter. And Twitter, like they've said in their like documents, even they've like promised this in the basically in the writing that like you get twice as many impressions if you have a badge. And so you can imagine like literally this is probably an extra 75 or more because the program was only like 9 months old at this time. So I would say this is probably getting us about an extra 100 million impressions. Such a good deal.
I want less impressions, actually. Can I take my badge down? I paid for that. I can take it down, right?
We can talk off screen.
I want less impressions.
Twitter has been kind of a cesspool lately. It's a tough time to be an influencer. You know, I feel for some of the people who are getting attacked. It's not. You just have to persevere. You know, like green candles will turn the tides of the vitriol that's out there, and it will start being a good place to be again. Hold on, Crispy. Hold on.
Hold on, Crispy. Hold on. Yeah.
Did I hear from Sami that like this is the first December in crypto history where it was like a halving year and a red monthly candle for Bitcoin?
He said something like that today. Yeah, that it was people weren't they weren't understanding that even though everything else has lined up exactly as it has before, that they that one item was off, and they're not FOMOing into the altcoins as much as they have been in the past. But personally, I think it's still coming. I think it's happened 3 times before. It's probably going to happen again.
3 times, huh? I don't know, dude. I think this time's different. Everything's
really
famous last words.
I'm going home. Oh wait, I'm already home. Yeah. You know, just looking at, I don't know what's going to happen. None of us do. But
no, of course not.
Things have changed a little bit. You know, I don't know. Conspiracy.
We got Trump for president. We got pro crypto sentiment coming from the U.S. Like, yeah, some things have changed. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so it's like they'll assign like a small percentage, 5% chance. The reason we had a red candle is because the institutions that bought all the Bitcoin wanted a red candle. How about that?
That sounds likely.
You know,
to make people think that this time is different,
so that they can buy more.
So they can buy more, whatever. Right? Those are tactics. I mean, you know, listen. You don't have to do much research to find out what the tactics are. Right? I mean, they've been going on for thousands of years, probably in markets, right? But certainly 100 years in the stock market might make people believe one thing by doing a certain thing, and yeah, they acquire more. I mean, there's definitely people who feel that the Ethereum market is being withheld, being held back purposely and brought down. I mean, and you can go on and on, right? I mean, so it's very, very possible. But one thing you can be sure of is that these same entities like money, right? And so you can be sure they will do their best to make there be some sort of a top that will require retail to buy in so that retail can get fleeced. I know that's an unpopular viewpoint. I'm sure a lot of people just had this pain in their brain when I said that, right? And like, no, that's not how it. Okay, yeah, you're right. It's not how it is. Let's see. It's how it's always been. I'm pretty sure that they're just ready to send me checks, for free. So, right? Those institutions, those BlackRock guys, they just want to send me money. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good hypothesis. Yeah, I like that. That it's.
Did I tell you last week about my my stockbroker dude?
Yeah.
I started talking about that a little bit. But yeah, that another example, things have changed, right? Just like Diamond was telling people 4 years ago, he'd fire you if you even talk about Bitcoin. People, if you were to talk to like a representative over at Fidelity or Morgan Stanley or any of these companies, right? They would be like, oh, listen, guys, I can't talk to you about this. They're gonna fire me, right? Well, now they can actually talk to you about it. So that's big progress. Big progress. They can't make any recommendations. But I mean, a lot of things have changed the last 4 years.
But they're obviously gearing up so they can in the future sell it to you in some way, right? Like they're setting up for it. Like you're going to be buying crypto at your local bank, or your grandma is, right? Like my father-in-law, who's pushing 80, like he bought into a Bitcoin ETF, which was available in Canada long before it was in the States, which is kind of funny. But yeah, he bought it. He asked me about it, and he bought it quite a while ago. He did very well, and he was very pleased with that. But it's like, yeah, if 80-year-olds are buying Bitcoin and they can do it through their bank, like that's going to be a tipping point, in my opinion.
I think so too. Well, hey, listen, I always had this conspiracy theory. I made it up myself. Maybe somebody else made it up first, because a lot of people have talked about the NSA being behind Bitcoin in the first place, right? You remember, you've probably heard those rumors before. But you can insert, alphabet soup into any of these conversations, say it's this, that. But wouldn't it have been like, it really would have been a dick move, but wouldn't it have been like the play if in 2008 a government really did create Bitcoin and then inflated the crap out of the currency and stored the value in Bitcoin and then became the number one holder of Bitcoin in the treasury? Wouldn't that be
a good play?
Wouldn't that have been? I mean, you think about nefarious novels, right? I could write a novel that would have that as a backdrop, deliberately inflating your currency to nothing in order to store all your value into Bitcoin. What a deal! All right. So, but I'm pretty bullish on the possibility that U.S. may do that, because that would be life changing. Maybe not my life, but it would be. It might create a whole different kind of thing, going on in terms of economics and value and money, if we really did have a hard money system, right?
Yeah.
True.
A lot of
I think it would affect you, Crispy. It would affect people on the Pulse chain, if people on Hex. Like if Bitcoin goes to 600K, I feel like, and this is just my idea, that probably that's where you see the $3 Hex, right? There's a trickle down effect. All this stuff is very connected. All of crypto would boom if Bitcoin does crazy numbers.
It is pretty connected. I agree with you there. I don't know how it'll flow. We'll have to see. I mean, in the old days, right, we would have been like, oh, because it really was functionally this way. There was only Bitcoin in the beginning, right? I mean, essentially, there was only Bitcoin, right? But then when other things were created, the only way I can get to the other things was to have Bitcoin. In fact, the first time I bought anything on Ethereum, I had to have Bitcoin in order to buy something on Ethereum. There was no stables. People might not even realize that at this point, right? So if a SEX didn't have the token that you wanted and you were going to somehow get it on what was then, they weren't any DEXs, I guess, but I mean, they were like databases, right? I mean, I guess they were sort of like a DEX. I don't think they were AMMs. But the only way you can get any of these hundreds of crap tokens that were created is you needed to get Bitcoin and then go to Ethereum and get Ethereum, and then you had to swap your Ethereum for whatever it is you wanted. And none of, maybe some really smart people knew, but the rest of us dummies were kind of like, look, my token's going up. Everything's going up. This is great, right? Of course, the reverse was true as well. And you come out of 2017. But in any case, there was only one path at that time. Now the paths are different, right? There's lots of, the network's grown. There's lots of paths in different directions. So how much of the Bitcoin value goes to Ethereum? Don't know. How much goes to other L1s? Don't know. Of what goes to the other L1s, how much of that moves over to Pulse Chain? Don't know, right? But one thing you can be sure of is if people know about it, Pulse Chain, right, and they think that they can make money, then they will move money in, right? That's
for sure. And Pulse Chain is on people's radar. Like I'm looking right now on Gecko Terminal by CoinGecko, and today Pulse Chain is listed number 5, just under BNB. So the only ones above us are Solana, Ethereum, Base, and BNB. So people are going to notice. And, if it's flowing, I think it's flowing to the top 5 seems likely to me.
Well, dude, I mean, I don't want to give out my secrets. I do talk about them in my group, which, by the way, nobody can join my group now because I took down my membership.
Oh, really?
But here's the thing. And without getting the details of pools that may or may not be on 2P Hux, I can make 60% APR on stables on Pulse Chain. Dude, I don't know. I don't know why somebody would fade, the ability to do that kind of stuff. I mean, we have enough activity on Pulse Chain that you can make between 10 and 60% APR just on stables, right?
Yeah. Actually, a little higher. We got some
Well,
Yeah,
you could
the
be as
VC
you could
number.
be as risky as you want to in that realm by going with algos, or you could be as mundane as, hey, I'm just going to go set up LP stable on PulseX. But in my mind, those types of things, as more knowledge gets out there, man, that's huge. 10, 11% APR, stable to stable. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, today I'm seeing 66.38% on the stable power pool that has the Hex based, Hex backed and PulseX backed stablecoins in it, paired with DAI from Ethereum. So, like, yeah, why would you not come to Pulse Chain and pay almost $0 in fees to be able to make 66% on your stable coins? I think that's a win.
Yeah. I think it's just gonna always going to take longer than we want it to. Is what it is. Oh, somebody's asking about Hex and the CIA, but not specifically about that. Who was saying the other day? I was listening. Oh, you know what? It might have been Saint Wolf was talking on his channel, and somebody was like, banks are creating Hex copies, and they're going to try to do what Hex has done. And that was an interesting kind of topic because, yeah, I mean, I could see somebody trying to. Now the code is copyrighted, right? I believe the Hex code is copyrighted, and so you cannot fork Hex specifically and go create your own thing. But I mean, enough the concept is there that we've seen plenty of other people copy it. But that was an interesting topic. Like, really, because I'm focused on the whole passive income thing. I keep looking at Hex and being involved in it because I believe that you can create passive income with it. Really, very nice passive income over time. So why wouldn't banks try to copy that?
Or just use it. They could just use Hex. They don't even need to copy.
Yeah, they could just use Hex.
That'd be easier.
So I think that's certainly possible.
I think Satoshi was not in the government. I think that I heard like, okay, this is a fresh take. So Future Us thinks that like one person that's like never been suggested to be Satoshi, but like who would fit the profile. There's this dude that used to be the CEO of Visa, and he was like making all this like really innovative stuff with payments, and they like fired him over it. And that was like right around the time that Bitcoin got created. And I think he died afterwards, so he's not around to ask, but
very convenient story, Maddie.
Indeed.
But like, I've never heard that one. My favorite before that is Paul LaRue, who was like an international drug kingpin, like was, diversifying into different like payment methods. He wrote the encryption for like BitLocker or some encryption tool previously. And then, he got locked up in like federal custody around the same time that Satoshi disappeared. So he's another likely candidate, but it's definitely not Craig Wright.
Nope.
I know that much.
They shot him down.
We've narrowed it down to like 7.9 billion other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee that it was not me. How about that?
Yeah, I wish.
I can't guarantee anything. I can't prove it.
Yeah, you could be Satoshi. I think that you could be. He must have been in like 4th grade or something. Right?
No. What year did Bitcoin come out?
2008. 2009. Like he was working on it in 08. It came out in 09.
Yeah, I was pushing 30, man. Could have been me.
You're an old man. Oh my God.
I am.
My God, I remember the day it came out because I'm working at a company. I worked in tech, but I mean, it wasn't a tech company. But that we were all looking at that white paper when it came out. Right? Would it come out through Wired? It was one of the first places. The magazine Wired, I think it was one of the first places it came out. If only I could have been so convinced and convicted then, huh? Wow.
Right.
I mean, what would have been better than $100,000 Bitcoin, free Bitcoin? How about that? All I had to do was download this software and push that button. Yep.
Indeed. Oh well, can't win them all, but you can buy Hex if you want to.
You can. Hey, here's a good question for you guys, because I don't know all the ins and outs of this new thing, Sky. Yeah, Sky is replacing Maker.
Yep.
So there's all
Replacing DAI. DAI.
Sky. I thought it was replacing Maker.
Is it?
But
No.
there's a new. Well, Sky is not the stablecoin, is it?
It's not? I thought they were changing the name of DAI to Sky.
Well, maybe it is. Maybe somebody can post this up. But I thought there were two different things. Maybe I'm just mistaken.
Yeah, well, Maker and DAI are two different things, but they're connected. Maker is like the DAO that votes on the changes for DAI. So they could replace.
What's
Maker
the new
with
name?
DAI.
What is the new name for Maker? Maker DAO. Let's see. We'll see if the internet knows.
Yeah.
Maker rebranded as Sky. And
Okay.
DAI will be upgradable to USDS. So I should have just been a dick. And
Oh,
been like,
USD
Okay.
I should have been like, no,
Sky.
Maddie. They should be like, no,
USDS.
Maddie, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I should have channeled my inner
So it's
Grizz.
USD.
And I was like,
It's USDS, and the S stands for Sky.
So
Okay,
both
got
of
it.
you are right. Okay.
We're-
You know?
I was not
oh,
right.
I feel so much better now.
Oh.
We're both right. Oh, can we all get trophies now? Can we do that too?
Not me.
But yeah. So here's the thing, though. Some people have already started. So one of the questions I had was like, well, do I need to? What happens to my DAI? You know, and what happens to my bridge DAI? Do I need to worry about it going to zero? Do I need to worry about that? But I guess I don't know. Maybe I do. But
Probably not.
But the idea that you can actually go convert. Apparently, you can convert your Maker to Sky and back if you wanted to. I think, according to some information I received, and you can actually go convert your DAI to USDS. Yeah, I guess that's a possibility as well.
Watch out for scam websites.
Yeah, guys, be real
Yeah.
careful with that.
Oh yeah.
And then there is somebody already started bridging USDS and Sky over to the Pulse chain. So that's a good question for you, Abdoul. Like, so what does this do for us, right? Because now, what I mean is, what does it do? How does it affect us? Because the number one token, number one stable token is DAI on Pulse chain, right? Twice the volume of both USDC and USDT. So combined they come sort of like equal. That's okay, right? But it's certainly used a lot. But DAI is a distinctly different contract number, which means we have distinctly different pools.
Yep.
So how the heck are we going to get this new USDS integrated, or will it be integrated? And more importantly, and this is what I'll be looking at, is there an opportunity here?
I agree. And I know a guy, Crispy. I think there could be farms on Pulse Chain that incorporate USDS. That seems like it'd be a thing. And more stable coins, especially with something like Fux and 2Fux, where you can combine up to 8 tokens in a pair. Every additional stable token that's in that pair is creating more trading options and more fees, right? So whereas now we have pools with USDT, USDC, and DAI, you could add USDS to that, maybe some of the other Pulse Chain native stables. And like the math of it is that if you have 8 stable coins in a stable LP pool, it's the equivalent of you creating 28 separate V2 pools, and it will absorb the fees of 28 separate V2 pools. So something like this I see as overall positive. If you're here for the tech will pay off when you can add in an additional money source like USDS.
I appreciate you saying that. Can we go back to what you said though again? Because I think this would be useful for people that are listening. Because I had to get my head around this a little bit as well. So this is my understanding when I look at these balancer pools, right?
Yeah.
You guys have seen the tool that I put up that I grab all the pools that I have access to, and I look at them, whether they're V3 or V2 pools, and I know what the values are, and I can draw little fancy maps and show the network, right? Easy to understand, 2 tokens, right?
Yeah.
Easy to understand. Now I maybe I should have gotten this a little faster, but so when looking at a balancer pool, it's just like you said, you multiply the number of connections, right? N minus 1 to the nth or whatever it is, whatever the calculation is to measure
There's
the,
an easy calculation to figure out how many pools you're creating.
yeah, and that, what is that?
Well, like if there's 8 tokens in the pool and they're all paired against each other because they're all in one LP pool, then you would take start with 7. So skip the first number, which is 8, and then start with 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, which I believe is 28. So that's how it's the equivalent of you created 28 V2 pairs. That's how many things are paired against each other if you have 8 tokens in one LP pool on a balancer fork.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I think there's actually a little calc you can do that without doing that, but that's easy enough to do if you want to do it that way. And so that being the case, so how much liquidity do I actually have? Now these things have percentages, right? And so the simple window is that, if you're looking at any one of those tokens, let's say it's your token you're providing liquidity for, and it's $1,000 worth of your token in the pool. Well, you now have, assume all the other quantities of tokens are $1,000 or more in the pool.
Okay.
You have a $1,000 window into each and every one of those, right? So now that is, if it's 28 different, well, I guess it wouldn't be that way, but I mean, we'd have to look at the exact number. But for every pair that you have that has $1,000 of liquidity on both sides, that's $1,000 window, and they would all count like $1,000 V2 pool.
If you have 8 tokens in a pool and it's evenly distributed and you have 8,000 in the pool, then you would have $1,000 each.
You'd have 7 pools. Yeah. Eight would give you 7
Stables
pools.
is different though, eh? Like it's not set up as percentages with the stable only pools. It just flows between the stables.
Yeah,
and it's not a set percentage. Yeah. But if it's not a stable only pool, it's a different set of code that allows you to have specific percentages, and it could be anywhere between 1 and 99% for any one token in that pool that's preset when the pool is created, which is a piece of code. Like it's like an immutable contract that's created every time you make a new pool.
Sorry, I mixed the two of those up as you were talking, but yeah, it just made me think about how to actually go figure out how much LP was available, in a pool.
Yep. Yeah, with the stable ones, you can literally just look at the total volume of the pool. Like there's 100 grand in the pool, like it's just 100 grand if it's just stable coins. But if there's set percentages, like if okay, 2 fucks is 15% of this pool, and there's 100 grand in the pool, then that's $15,000 with 2 fucks that's available to buy and sell in that pool, right? Against the other tokens in the pair. But if it's all stable coins, it's just, if it's 100 grand, it's 100 grand. And it will just flow between those coins, and it's set up that way so that you're paying less slippage on stables, so that it's a more stable place for them to live, no pun intended, and that the trading fees are lower, and it helps them all keep their peg, which is particularly important for our native stable coins to be involved in pairs like that, because it helps them maintain a dollar when they can move very freely from, let's say, something like USDL or PXDC or HexDC or Coast. They can move freely from in and out of DAI, or in and out of USDC or USDT, and helps them stay at $1 at a very low cost to the user who's participating.
Yep. Yeah, I think those are pretty cool. That idea. I mean, I know, just some of my research, right, on this. In order to have a good peg, I think for those, I think you need to be in over the 1,000% collateralization zone, maybe even further. And when I say over 1,000%, what I mean is, minimum 10 times volume, in terms of stability, of actual value in those coins.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes it's not about always being on peg. It's about being able to recover the peg if it goes off, right? And I think in
yeah,
the
there's that
recent
too.
dip, we saw that.
Mm.
Like
Well, yeah,
some,
for some of us though, we don't like losing value, right? So it is about it being
you
stable.
don't lose the value as long as you don't pull out at the wrong time, right? You know, like
Mm.
it's
Yeah,
if
but
a
if people,
stablecoin goes down, but it can come back, it comes back up, you know, inside of like an hour, right? Then like you
but it
didn't
went
lose
down
the
for a
value.
reason.
You just actually made a ton of fees, is what you
Yeah.
did.
Well, if you're doing the LP, sure. But if it goes down, there's a reason it went down, and it's usually because somebody sold it, and the constant product formula came into play, right?
Yeah.
And because the liquidity isn't thick enough, the price slips, right? And now that's obviously intentional, right? I mean, that's how it works. Um, it's intentional insofar as, yeah, I mean, if you're going to try to do $1 million transactions against $100,000 pools, that's what you're going to see. But the reverse is true with over-collateralization. If you're only seeing $1 transactions and you have $100,000 worth of liquidity, you're not going to see any move at all or very little move.
Well, then people won't be, if there's not transactions, like if there's only $1 worth of transactions on 100,000, then people won't be incentivized to participate in liquidity because they're not making any fees, right? So you
Ah,
need that somewhere in the middle, or like there won't be money on the table that
or
gets people to bring stables onto the chain. So
or you use some sort of thing like 2p hugs that is
2PX has some
incentivized.
farming options, yeah. That
Yeah, 2p
incentivize people to
is
go into the pools, but to go into the pools, they have to buy the tokens too, right? So if you wanted to go into the stable power pool, you'd have to acquire PXDC, you'd have to acquire HexDC and DAI. So it means that you might have swapped something for those. You interacted with the pool, and the very act of you participating or trying to acquire the tokens means the people who are already in the LP pool, they receive fees based on that. And of course, the farming revenue, which is the majority of what they receive. And that's why it's paying 66%, right? It's because people are like trying to get into the pool. It's generating real fees. And then when something generates real fees, then DEXs like PHUX and 2FUX, of course, built on top of that, they're incentivized to make that be a farm because it's generating fees, right? So fees is like that's the real earnings on the Pulse chain, and on most chains are all about fees that DEXs charge. That's probably the biggest single real generator of funds is that. So there's definitely something to keeping it moving and not having it be stagnant. And things that like those liquidity forks. Like that did dip during the recent crash, and they all recovered very nicely. And there was a huge amount of fees generated by that, right? So like seeing something go down to 92 cents for like an hour, when it's like a liquidity fork with solid immutable code, like that's opportunity. That's like, to me, that's not a negative thing. We saw a very similar thing with the USDC crash last year. Liquidity on Ethereum did fantastic. It actually, I think I sold some liquidity on Ethereum at $1.16 because I moved into it, and then people were going there as a place of safety because they're scared about their not on chain back stablecoins, and it was good. I liked it.
Good play. Yeah,
Yeah.
during the DPEG weekend, whenever that was.
Yeah, I made some
maybe
money
a year
that
and a
weekend.
half ago.
RH made more money. He did very well.
That was like right around the time when Hex hit 10 cents right before Pulse Chain launched. So I guess it would have been more than a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago now. But stables on Pulse Chain are here to stay, and I think 2 years, 5 years from now, whenever the bear market starts, we're going to see a huge amount of stables flowing around on Pulse Chain. And there's going to be, when the next bull market starts, I think that will be like a serious time for Pulse Chain, where people will be deploying, millions or billions of stables that they've been farming for years, making 20, 30%. I think it's possible. I think we can do it. And I think Pulse Chain is going to be one of the biggest homes for stablecoins and crypto.
I think so too. I think I've shared with you guys this before. I've done a ton of research on and testing with pools. having to do with stables, right? For mostly for my group and for others, because we all have this idea that we'll, we're going to somehow sell the top, right? And then you're going to have stables, and you're going to do something with the stables. So, what to do with them? Bring them back to the SEX, earn $4 or 4%, excuse me, or take them all the way out of crypto. A lot of people are like, no, I want to stay on Pulse Chain, and so having good solutions on what you're going to do with stables during a downtrend of some assumed downtrend of another bear in the future.
And we're not even there yet. Like, that's not even the like we have, like, there's things that are paying, two fucks in particular paying 66% on stable coins. That's not even the focus right now, right? Like, I personally am not super interested in having a lot of funds in stable coins right now when I feel like non-stable assets are likely to go up. So like when it is the focus, when that's the thing that people are most interested in, like, you better believe there's going to be teams on the Pulse chain that you probably know of that are going to come out with some fantastic flywheels where, we'll be able to really pump the yield on these stable coins by, and there's all kinds of ways to do it. And the technology is available and people will come out with new technology, but like there's lots of ways where we'll be able to pump these stable pools and entice people to come from other chains, like bridge all kinds of stable coins that aren't here right now. And this USDS, like that's probably just the tip of the iceberg. I think, with all the things going on in the world with CBDCs and, even the PayPal stablecoin, like, I don't know, why can't that be on Pulse Chain? It's not impossible. We have the bridge works. It's free to bridge things onto the Pulse Chain aside from the Ethereum fee. And we could pair every stable under the sun on Pulse Chain. But you have to analyze the risk, and you're well aware of this, Crispy, on each individual stable coin, right? You don't want a bad stable coin in your pair that you're participating in.
No, not if there's no way to keep it pegged, for sure.
Well, one thing I didn't hear you guys say that I think is the most important aspect of DAI changing their name to USDS Sky is that frees up the brand for PDAI to become the most important stablecoin in the world.
Oh, that makes sense.
Not financial advice.
And it may be.
I actually still don't hold any that I know of. Like, I might have some here and there, but yeah, I'm enthused. I'm in it for the tech.
Yeah, that's my line. We'll see what happens. I think PDAI will be excellent collateral for the liquidity fork that we're working on right now. That'll be out in a couple weeks, and it will be able to collateralize the stablecoin. I can't say whether it's going to $1, but I think it can collateralize $1. So
that's
it'll be an interesting experiment.
Are you guys still making good progress on that?
Oh yeah, no, we're almost done. Basically, the code's done. We're working on front end stuff and farming stuff, so that people are incentivized to participate, right? Because it's all about, you need community participation with a stable coin. So it has to be mostly it's obviously the immutable code is very important with a stable coin, and that's immutable audited code. But after that, you need community participation. So we're setting up like good farms where you'll have a place to put your PDAI, you'll have a place to put your P stable, which is what the new dollar is called, and then the print token, the PDAI printer token, will be something where you'll have places to stake that to get actually more PDAI as well as the P stable coin, and there'll be LP farms for that as well. So we have some nice little yield loops. And I'm very interested to see how it works out. So it'll could be a big thing.
Yeah, very cool.
I'm looking forward to it. I just as an aside, I do have a different viewpoint on the whole is it time to go to stables viewpoint. Obviously we're thinking that there's an upcycle ahead, and surely, nobody would say to you, hey, get out of crypto and go to stables now. But there is a technique out in TradFi that people use, which is, keeping a percentage of cash or cash-like reserves, right? And they maintain that percentage during different market cycles, different seasons, and they may change based on their goals. Like people who like the general kind of number is 10%, right? And so if you're relatively taking risky-ish type plays in the stock market, maybe you'd be at 10% exposure to cash, right? Because you always have a little bit of dry powder, right?
Never a bad thing. Like think of like the recent like flash crash that we had that pretty much disappeared in hours. Like I wished I had twice, like, and I did deploy some stables that day, but like I wish I had twice as much, right? Like that would have been, the math would have been good.
Yeah, so it's not a terrible thing to maintain some exposure to it. Plus, it gives you kind of a feel for what you will do later.
Yeah.
So I've been promoting this idea that people should, just like I think everybody, not financial advice, of course, but everybody should have exposure to Hex on the Quattro Cinco. I think you should also have some exposure to a stable pool of your
like
choice.
you said, it's knowing what you will do later. So if you're practicing now with whatever for 1% of your bag, like just as a number to pick, not that I'm recommending that, like, and then when it is time to make money with stables, you'll have the knowledge. Whereas if you didn't do that, you're like, oh, everybody's selling now, I'm going to sell and buy stables too. Now, what do I do with them? You won't have any idea. You're much more likely to make a mistake. So why not move $500 around right now and see if you can make 60% on it? And then, when you have, hopefully millions, then you'll probably be a lot better educated on what to do with those millions.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you could put together a plan. Again, I do recommend people have written plans for their future, right? But you put together a plan, you figure out what your numbers are, but maybe at the top you want to be 80% stables. I don't know. Maybe some people will be like, no, man, I'm 100% stables at the top. I'm getting out. There could be that too. But just having some sort of a plan for the future. And plus, like you said, though, here's a great thing. Firewhale shared a video with me that's out on X the other day. But just shows the 10,000 X for Hex, right? And how we went up. How many pullbacks there were? 40%. So whatever we think, right? There's always, even though we all pretend, it's only going to go up in the rate, right? And we know volatility is in the game. We know that. All right. What is volatility, guys? It's not just a word. It means price up, price down, right? That's volatility, right? Price up, price down, and then maybe back up again or whatever. So there will be opportunities along the way that you may wish to take advantage of.
For sure.
Yeah, I think there were like 60% or more drawdowns on the path for Hex's first run. So.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like people can handle that though, man. I'll tell you.
Shout out to Crypto Keeper, who I haven't seen in the chat in a long time, but was a watcher in the early days of the channel.
I remember that because I like this picture.
Cool. So have we reached a natural conclusion to the show for today on New Year's Eve?
You may have.
I think we did it. We were angry. We were happy. We had all the emotion.
Yeah. Good range.
Indeed.
Well, yeah, happy New Year's Eve to everybody celebrating all around the world. I guess people have probably already done their celebrations if they're in Australia, and probably in the middle of it in Europe, getting ready to head into midnight. And here in the US, it's 5:00 p.m. but certainly like be safe out there as you're celebrating, and like don't drink and drive, and be really careful, you know, with how you conduct yourself so that you can have safety be first, because we want to celebrate 2025 with all of you. And yeah, so be safe out there.
Happy
My
New Year.
light just rugged on me. And cool. So do you guys want to tell people where to find you?
Sure. You can find my website at hexfire.io, or out on the X at hexfire.io. That's it. And if I don't see you, we'll see you.
Cool. You can, our website, 2phux.io. You can also find me on Twitter under Fast Abdoul, as printed on the screen, without the part, just Fast Abdoul, at Fast Abdoul. Thanks, guys.
I'm going to load up our thumbnail here. We still need all the people who have spoken in previous Hex conferences to sign up if you haven't yet for the Hex conference. You can look at your messages on Twitter and Telegram from me. And please go ahead and sign up as soon as possible so I can make the schedule. You can find more information about the Hex conference at hexconference.com or x.com/hexconference. And for me, you can find all my stuff at mati.pls.fyi. Next week, we will be streaming, but it will be for the conference on Tuesday. And so then the following Tuesday, we will keep this streak going again with our normal format here. So yeah, so for all that, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, share this out. And until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Stay crispy. And I just have one thing to say to you. Good afternoon.
All right.
And now we dance.
I don't have no music now. I feel so bad.
Is there better music than this for like
I don't
dance
hear
pop?
any music. Oh, here we go. Let's do it. Womp, 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 womp.